Coming up on this week's show, my mini review of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, The Last of Us goes first person, Knuckles gets his own live-action TV series for Paramount Plus, Joseph Staten leaves the Microsoft ship in favour of Netflix, and Dead Island 2 is actually good. Hello friends and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast, the coffee morning show brought to you each week where friends hang out and chat about some of the latest stories going on in the industry. You can follow the show on all of your favourite platforms or watch the video version over on youtube.com/gamertagged. This is episode 103 and joining me for all of the bants today is none other than the voice from beyond. You've heard her in titles like Rollerdrome and Goat Simulator 3. It's the ethereal, the spooky, the immensely talented, the BAFTA-winning Sarah Lynham.
It's me. Hello.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning. I've had a coffee, so I'm in a good mood.
Whoop whoop.
How are you?
I am sans coffee today, so you're the one that's going to be bouncing off the walls, and I'm the one that's going to be somber. Maybe.
No. I like to think that my energy will be infectious, and it will be like a ping pong match of crazy energy.
I'm up for that. That sounds amazing. Let's do that. We've got a great show, but before we get into the show topics, I want to talk a little bit about what we've been playing. What have you been playing this past week? Because we are another week into the podcast. Lots of stuff's been going on. Have you been chipping away at your pile of shame, or have you been dabbling in any new things?
Well, off the back of Jamie's recommendation last week, I played Demonologists, which was very cool. So they did a 45-minute demo. You essentially had access to 45 minutes of gameplay, which, to be honest, because if you haven't played Phasmophobia, it is slightly similar, but the navigation of the initial okay, how do I log in with my friends, how do I access the level I want to go to, that took up a little bit of that 45 minutes, which was not ideal.
That's how they get you.
But we managed to play, me and my friend Steve, we did one haunt, and it was terrifying compared to Phasmophobia. Just the detail of the maps, it's that they're really, really beautiful, but the scares are different. I feel like with Phasmophobia, it's quite you know what to expect, and I've played loads of it now, so it's like you walk into the house, you try and establish where the spirit is. After a certain amount of time, it hunts you, and you're sort of trying to establish based on its patterns what type of entity it is. Whereas in this one, it's the same basic premise, but the way that the scares work are slightly different. So you're less likely to have sort of flashing lights, and you're more likely for something to warp out of the window at you, or if you shine a light on something, it might jump out at you. And so I was like, oh my god, this is terrifying and amazing, and I would absolutely recommend it. And I think it's still it's less than £15 on Steam, so if anyone wants it, I reckon totally go for it. I haven't actually forked out the 12 or 13 quid or whatever it is yet, but it's because I plan on recruiting a bunch of people so that we can all play together. So I need to get people to play the demo, get hooked, and then buy the game.
Is there a Mac version? Because I would buy it for that much and to play with you. I don't know.
I feel like probably not, which is really sad. Although I think we were looking at it, and I think there might have been a Mac version from memory, only because another friend of mine was thinking of getting it. So we should definitely look at that, because it's great. It's very spooky. Steve, I was playing with the lights on because I'm a sensible person, and Steve was like, I'm playing with the lights off and I've lit a candle and everything, and I'm like, okay. The spirits might come jumping out of the screen at you if you're going to do stuff like that.
You've got a pagan ritual thing going on as well in the background. Yeah,
right. No, it's just this average midweek night is lights off, candles on, summoning demons, la la la.
Yeah, just a regular Saturday night or Friday night. Fantastic. Oh god, yeah, because I've listened a lot to how much Jamie gushes about Phasmophobia, and I would love to try it, but I've never tried it because I'm a big old scaredy cat. But if demonology sounds like it could be something that you need lots of friends to hold your hands
Mhm.
as you're going through these locations and things. And
Yeah.
but it sounds really interesting. So if there's a Mac version, I need to check it out so we can play it. You know what
Yeah.
really surprised me actually? I was looking on Steam just the other day, and Double Fine Games they're doing like a mega flash sale at the moment on all of their games across platforms. So it's like the Xbox Store, the PlayStation Store, and of course Steam. And just for funsies, I clicked on the Steam link for a couple of their games, like Brutal Legend and Psychonauts and is it Broken Sword? I think it's Broken Sword, and a couple others. A couple others that I wasn't even aware that they'd actually created. I was stunned by just how many games I've actually got, apart from the mainline ones like Psychonauts. And anyway, back on track. I was blown away. Like every single one has a Mac version. Even Psychonauts 2, the most recent one, has a Mac version. And I thought,
Mm.
could I play Brutal Legend, Jack Black rocking out with the Demons of Hell on my Mac at like Mac settings and everything? I think, oh, that sounds
Yes. Oh,
awfully tempting.
yes.
So I'll maybe have to dip into the Steam sales and go down
Yeah.
that rabbit hole of which there
Oh,
is
yeah.
you never hit
Beware.
the bottom.
Yeah. Spend a couple of quid here, a couple of quid there. I mean, you'll have a massive game library, but yeah, I it's amazing. It's amazing how many
Yeah.
amazing like indie titles there are in there. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
pile of
I
shame. Like
I like to
pit
think
of
of the
shame.
I like to think of the Steam sales as prep for when I eventually get a Steam Deck or I eventually get a PC, but most likely the Steam Deck will come first. So
Mhm.
I'm this is where I'm selling it to myself and my bank manager to say it's just I'm laying the foundations, dude, for when I get a PC. That's all. I can't buy a PC and have nothing to play on it. So
Well, exactly, because that would just be ludicrous. So yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
thumbs up from Sarah. Games I've been playing, I've been double dipping a few different things actually. I'm heavily into A Plague Tale Requiem right now.
Mm.
I think I'm close to the end, but I've been bouncing between that and Horizon Forbidden West because of course Burning Shores DLC came out and I really got to get I my stuff together for to actually play that game and get through it so I can then play the Burning Shores DLC, which looks fantastic. But I also finally finished, or not finally finished, but refinished Jedi Fallen Order because Jedi Survivor comes out in like a week's time, a few days' time, and so I was refreshing myself with Cal Kestis's journey with that game, and my God, that game is so good. It's so good. There are still some frustrations that I have with it for sure, but overall, like the characters, the presentation, the feel of dueling with lightsabers is
Yeah.
absolutely perfect in that game, and I'm super excited to see where they can go with it with Survivor. But A Plague Tale Requiem, Sarah, let me tell you, good lord, the story and the presentation of that game is absolutely amazing. Like the rat claws has got its claws into me and it's gnawing away like just gnawing
Ugh.
away. I know, like those little rats. And the haptics in the DualSense control. Because I remember ages ago you told me about the first game on PlayStation 5 having the haptics on PS5 of the little
Mm.
rats that feels like the rats are inside the controller, just like scurrying around and scratching. And
Yeah.
as horrifying as that sounds, it is even better in Requiem, and it is equally as disturbing. And I my first thought of feeling it was utter disgust, and it felt like you know when you get like flies in a jar and they're just buzzing around and they're like
Mm.
banging off the thing. It feels like that, and it is skin crawlingly gross in that imagery. But
Mm.
what was also really cool is um I don't think it's a spoiler to say that Hugo in this one has the ability at various times to kind of like control the rats. So you press the mechanic is you press down on the D-pad and you go into this almost like a sonar view mode kind of thing, and then you can
Mm.
see all the rats. They're highlighted, and you can see the it's like the blood vessels of all of the enemies. Because normally there's no like sense view typically. You just have to kind of know, or there's no way to tag enemies like that. It's not a gaming mechanic like that. And like in The Last of Us, for example, you do listening mode and you can see exactly where everybody is. Normally,
Mhm.
you don't have anything like that. You just have to be aware of your surroundings, which I do appreciate, as frustrating as at times that can be. But when the times come up where Hugo can activate this mode, it's the way it's explained in the game is that the rats can sense the blood of
Mm.
everybody around them, kind of thing. So what you're seeing is this kind of vague silhouette, but you're actually seeing um it's like all of the blood vessels, all of the veins to form the figure, and that's how you see the figure.
Mm.
But what's really cool is if you hover the cursor over the person, the haptics will pulse their heartbeat
Oh!
into the controller. And if they've spotted you, or if they've been running, or if they're scared, that will be like 100 beats per minute kind of thing. It'll be like bum 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 because they're like scared, their heart rate's going, their adrenaline's pumping. So it goes like really high. And as they calm down, if they've lost you and they go back to their patrols, it goes boom, 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 like an even tempo again. It's really fucking cool. It's
Oh,
really cool.
that's
So
amazing.
yeah, it's a really clever haptic feedback that I just was like, like at first I wasn't aware of it, because I was so terrified of avoiding the rats, and about halfway through I thought, hang on a minute, the tempo is changing here when I go into this view mode and try and move the cursor over an
Mm.
enemy guard or something like that. I was like, oh my god, that is so cool, and it's very captivating, the story. And obviously I adored the first game with Hugo and Amicia and their journey of the Darun family and the macula, which is this thing that infects his blood, and the Inquisition and everything that are trying to get hold of it and everything. And it's so captivating because I want to see it through. But I have been getting really frustrated with it. Some big chunks of the game relies for me just too heavily on like a trial and error gameplay where you
Mhm.
feel like I have to sneak, or I have to play it a very specific way, or you get caught and then it's like instant game over, and then you have to
Mhm.
reset and you're like, oh my god, this is just frustrating. It's not really fun. Whereas I felt like in the first game, whenever there was armored enemies, you get to a point in the game where you can unlock this chemical alchemic ability to like melt the metal, so that if they're wearing helmets, they'll take it off because it's burning, and then you can like David and Goliath them with the slingshot and knock them on their butts and kill them.
Mhm.
Whereas it feels like way too, like 90% of the enemies are heavily armored, and
Mm.
you don't have that ability to craft a chemical formula to burn their helmet and they take it off. You have to rely on other methods, and a lot of times those other methods are not terribly forthcoming, and you feel like you're way worse off than you were in the first game a lot of the times. And I was like,
Mm.
what do I do here? And it's like I just have to sneak around them, but then I get caught, and oh my god, this is so frustrating. But when you get past that bit, or those bits, the plot and the environments and the characterization and the story are hitting at such a high level. You're thinking, this is so good. I have to see it through. And then there will be another like sneaky bit coming up. It's like, come on, I just want to be able to get through this. And Amicia needs to be, or she felt more capable in the first game. There was still that if you're
Mm.
caught, and if they get close to you, it's like an instant death sort of thing,
Mm.
but you felt like you could deal with armored people a little bit more effectively because you could craft that stuff and you could burn them and things like that.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is like there are more abilities in this game, but it felt like maybe it was just me being shit at the game. I felt like I couldn't deal with all of these armored enemies, so I kept getting caught and I kept dying and I kept restarting. I thought, God damn it, this is so
Mm.
frustrating. And you get a crossbow in this game as well, which will instantly down like a heavily armored. I was like, oh great. But then you get like 2 arrows and then you're buggered again. And then it's like, oh my god, how do I get their helmets off and things like that. And but there are more um things to draw upon, more like abilities and opportunities to draw upon, but for some reason, I was getting like mentally stuck as to what to do at any given point when these armored guys are spotted me and they're charging me down. I'm like, oh fucking hell, I'm just dead again. I have to restart the section all over again and things like that. It's like, oh, I have to sneak into tall grass. This is so frustrating. I just want to deal with them. But like everything else part of the game is so cool, and they do this really interesting thing. Is like if you play really aggressively, you will dynamically unlock more aggressive play style skills and abilities. Like I was being pretty ruthless for Amicia, like killing everybody I possibly could because I just wanted to clear the area. total gamer style. And an ability I unlocked was to be able to charge at enemies that are unsuspecting and push them into either fire or a pile of rats. Which was an ability that I unlocked dynamically because I was playing a bit more aggressively. And there's other ones that if you're predominantly sneaking, then you'll be a bit more effective at making less noise, and those skills will dynamically unlock. You're not sinking points into anything; they'll just like passively unlock, which is really cool.
That's
as a
really
system.
cool.
It's really cool. Yeah. So there's so much great stuff about it, and the story is amazing. I was just getting hung up on a few of those set pieces where I felt like I was so limited with trial and error style of gameplay, and that might be entirely beyond me because overall the game is really good, and it's really captivated me, and I can't wait to see it through because some of the story revelations. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because I know you're a big fan of this series as well, and of course viewers and listeners that are listening to this as well. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's really good. It's really powerful stuff, and visually, yes, it only runs at 30 FPS, but you know what? It's a cinematic game, and it actually doesn't really matter at all, and it's so freaking good. And those haptics, oh my gosh, those haptics, so incredible.
Yeah, they sound amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool about the like skills adapting based on your playstyle. I think that's really cool because it basically encourages whatever your default way of playing, it gives you and like goes, oh yeah, I see that you like playing like this. Here, let me give you some bonuses so that makes that, you know, your playstyle even easier, which is awesome. Like I'm surprised that there aren't more things like that. I'm trying to think of any examples. There probably are other games that have done it, but like it feels like that feels quite refreshing to not necessarily have to sink points and to go, well, I want to play in this way, so I'm going to put more points into strength or more points to you know, dexterity or something like that. Like actually the game identifying the way that you play and giving you buffs based on that. I think that's really cool.
I think it's really clever as well.
Yeah, I also and the thing you're saying about like some of the encounters feeling like the only way you could do it is to do it exactly like a certain way. I experienced that I think maybe like once in the first one where I kept dying over and over and over again in this part where I couldn't figure out exactly what to do, and it's because you had to time it so perfectly when one person was walking a certain way and you sort of had to sneak around a certain way, and if you didn't do it exactly that way then you're buggered. And it was it did feel a little limiting because sometimes the world makes you feel like you have more room to walk around and explore, but actually it's a bit more straight down the line. Make sure you follow this path. So yeah, that was a little frustrating, and I'm a bit disappointed to hear that that's in the second game. But it sounds like everything else is amazing, so it probably overshadows that little moment of that's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, it is like the environments are much wider for these encounters, so you do certainly feel like you have more opportunities to like run away, hide, and regroup, and that kind of thing. I think I was getting hung up on or stuck on the fact that there was so many more heavily armored enemies in each of these environments now. Where I thought, oh my god, like how do I deal with this? Like what do I do? But going back to those dynamic skills that you unlock, because I loved my crossbow and the fact that it was so good at just like instantly killing a heavily armored person, and then I didn't have to deal with it. One of the upgrades that you do eventually get is to be able to reuse your crossbow bolts. So like the fact that I only had two and I always ran out of them really quickly, and they were so hard to find, that will eventually become a moot point because I can then retrieve them and then I can be like like Ellie from The Last of Us, just like slaying everybody. But those like the really good upgrades, they're coming so late into the game that I think, oh, had these these maybe arrived a little bit faster, I would have played it differently. I would have played it a little bit quicker or differently, and maybe would have enjoyed my time for those particular set pieces a little bit more. But that's a me issue, I think, rather than necessarily a game issue, because the environments are way bigger. It's still a linear game, but the basins are much bigger, and there's more opportunities to run away and lose sight of the soldiers that are chasing you, and then they'll eventually go back to their patterns of patrolling patterns again, and then you can kind of regroup and reattack it. But I was like, no, I just want to deal with these people, and I can't, because I'm just a little girl, and I can't deal with these heavily armored soldiers. It's like, oh yeah, I am just a child. I keep forgetting that I'm just a child. I'm not a special forces soldier that can just shiv anybody and retrieve my knife and things like that. You know, the knives keep breaking, and you hardly ever find a knife, so you got to pick and choose where you're going to use it, or where you're just going to literally distract an enemy to get past them, not get into the mindset of, I have to kill everybody. I have to absolutely kill everybody in the entire game, because that is a theme of importance in the game. Is if you are killing everybody, what effect does that have on your relationship with Hugo? Because he's seeing you killing everybody, and there's a whole thing there, as opposed to being passive and only killing when it's essential, and that's a theme as well. So what a powerful, rich stuff in this game that I do seriously recommend. And but the haptics and the story and the graphics and just the visual look of everything is stunning. Like I shared a couple of pictures with you on Messenger to say, games are wild, guys. Games are wild. Just look at this. This actually moves and runs and is playable, and this is where we're at with video games. It's insane.
Absolutely. Love it.
I know. Check it out, Sarah. Get on it. Get on the first game. You haven't finished the first game. Jesus Christ. So shall we talk about our show topic, since that was a little bit of a preamble?
We massively waffled about games we're currently playing.
So show topics today, folks. The Super Mario Brothers, the movie. I'm going to give a little bit of a mini review, because I went to see it at the weekend last. Took my little 2-year-old boy, and he fucking loved it. So, movie's a winner just for that. There is a Last of Us PC mod for a first-person mode that we're going to talk about as well. Horizon's Burning Shores launches, which we just kind of mentioned there. There is a Knuckles live-action series coming to Paramount Plus. Joseph State leaves Microsoft for Netflix, and Dead Island 2 finally launches. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, Sarah, shall we talk about Super Mario first of all?
Yeah.
We gotta. So I went to see this. My wife and I took our little boy. It's the first time we've taken him to the cinema, and we thought, well, it's got to be an animated movie, right? And we really want to see the Super Mario Brothers movie. So he's 2.5. He's not 2. He's a little bit older. And it was an afternoon showing. Obviously, there was loads of other families there with their kids. And can I just say, this movie was absolutely perfect. There was so much fan service for me, because I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I grew up mostly with Nintendo and Sega. All of the nods all the way throughout were just little Easter egg touches that I was just absolutely loving. It's just a joyful film from start to finish, with a big smile on my face. Really, really well done. Interesting plot. I mean, Jack Black was incredible, but all of the kiddos that were watching as well were just giggling, screaming, laughing. Like they've hit the formula for an animated movie to appeal to kids. And what's incredible is that it is the most successful adaptation ever. And it's currently sitting at $700 million after 2 weekends. So it opened with 87 million over the weekend. And the North American total is 347.8 million. And its global total is just under 700 million, making it the most successful adaptation of all time, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. What the heck? I really need to see this. I remember when I went to see the D&D film that there were so many screenings available for Super Mario. I was like, should we just go see that? after we see Dungeons and Dragons. But no,
Double bill.
alas,
Yeah.
alas, we did not, but we should have. I obviously, everything you've said sounds incredible. Like I have been wanting to see this since I heard that it was coming out, and there was all this kind of like, oh god, it's going to be horrible having Chris Pratt playing Super Mario. But like, I think everyone's kind of just gone, you know what, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it's a bit weird at the start, but like it sort of settles in, and everyone's like, okay, that's fine, that's just what it is. But like mostly, I'm just kind of obsessed with wanting to see Jack Black as Bowser and hear him sing the Peaches song, like
Yep.
in situ, in the actual like context of the film and everything. Like, I need to go and see it. I'm sure it'll be in cinemas for a while now because it's it's doing really really well. And I think
Yeah.
one of the main things for me was that I was planning on seeing it after half term so that I could watch it with a bunch of adults in the room instead of like big kids basically in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure that it will come to streaming relatively quickly as well. Things these days are coming to streaming even while they're still in the cinema, depending on the
Yeah.
actual film itself. But yeah, I think it might be one of these ones that just feels nicer to go and see in the big dark room with a massive screen and
Yeah.
and popcorn.
It was so good. Yeah. I mean, it's very much a popcorn movie or an M&M's movie, if that's what you prefer.
Both.
But
Both.
both together, I know. But Jack Black absolutely crushed it. He really stole the entire movie, and his performance was just perfect. And Anya Taylor-Joy played Peach, which was just fantastic as well. Her role was obviously not the typical damsel in distress, princess stuck in a castle, but not this castle. He's on another castle. Really, really good. And honestly, Chris Pratt was not offensive at all. Like a lot of people were getting super offended by his casting and early tests, sound bites and things like that. You know what? I barely noticed. Honestly, barely noticed. It was absolutely just a perfectly fine Mario, which is great because Bowser was such a scene stealing character and performance. That's where all the attention goes to everybody else. Toad was great. Donkey Kong was excellent. All of the nods, the Mario Kart references and set pieces and things were just spot on. Like, I really enjoyed it, and I really hope that there is going to be another one. I would imagine there must be, but like Luigi as well, and nods to Luigi's Mansion and things like that. And yeah, there's so many references to the entire legacy of Super Mario and all of the games and everything as well. That is, yeah, it's if you're a Nintendo fan in the slightest, you have to go see it. And my 2-year-old boy and all the other kids knew instantly who Mario is. They were giggling. What made me giggle like crazy in the theater was like something appeared. Can't remember what it was. I think it was like it wasn't a character. It was, I've totally forgotten what it is now, but it was like a box or something appeared, and it was going to be a Mario character that appeared. Sorry, one of the typical characters that appears from Mario. And one of the kids shouted, "Pokemon!" like that. Like that was their association with Nintendo IP. That was Pokemon, and it was hilarious. I thought, "Kid, it's not Pokemon, but you're close." It's just a Mario character, but it's close.
Oh, that's adorable.
But that's the power of these like franchises, right? Like even at that age, they see it and they instantly think, "Oh my god, it's that plushie, it's that toy that I've got at home, and now I can see it talking and moving and dancing and jumping around the place." And that's why it's the most successful like animated film adaptation ever. So wild.
Absolutely amazing. I'm so glad that it did well. I always want these things to go well, especially when we get so hyped about stuff watching trailers. And I'm really pleased that it's done like insanely well. Not just like, yeah, it's done great. It's like box office smash level,
Yeah.
like incredible. So that I was going to watch it anyway, but it's now like a must see kind of situation.
You have to see it. Yeah. Go grab Connor, say, "You know what? We're going to go for a matinee and see it with all the kids as well." Is
So I
that kind
think
of
that I do actually think the environment would be different. Like, yeah, if you watch it with a bunch of adults, you'll all sit in the room and just like occasionally you might get a huh, like a little scoff from someone when or a and that's about
yeah,
all the like extremes of like emotion will be. Whereas if you're in a room with like kids who are like absolutely buzzing and bubbling away from
yeah.
what's happening on the screen, I imagine that that's a very different like environment to see the film in, which is very cute.
Yeah, because it's these adorable little high pitched voices that are just like squealing and screaming at the screen, and they're standing up on their chairs because the cinema chairs are way too big for them, but they're
Yeah.
like sitting forward or they're jumping up and down. And normally, as a parent, as an adult going to the movies, I would fucking hate that. That would just annoy the shit out of me. But as a parent that I am now, I'm like, yes. Yes, I'm all for this. Let the kids enjoy and scream and shout and dance and jump and just lose their shits in the movie theater because they're seeing Mario or they're seeing a Pokemon or whatever. They're just having a ball of a
Aw.
time.
Yeah, maybe we should all be doing that. All the adults should be getting up and getting excited as well. We get so muted in our jaded old age.
We
Sat
do.
there like, oh, I do want to get up right now, but my knees won't let me do it. But woo!
Yeah. You need those. You need cinema chairs to be fitted with the electrical thing that just raises you up really slowly. It's like, just so we can stand up and dance. It's like, okay, we probably missed the moment in the movie where we wanted to jump up and dance, but it's like, hold on, I'm raising up. I'm raising up. Pause the movie, damn it! I'm almost on my feet.
Yeah, this is genius. I don't know why this doesn't exist. I don't want to have to use my actual muscles. I would like my chair to make me stand up.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have like children and family showings at the cinema, so why can't we have a geriatric showing instead of a matinee? It's like kind of mid-afternoon nap showing sort of thing.
Has to be like that prime moment just after the nap where you're feeling quite good about yourself. You've just had another coffee, you've just woken up after your
Yeah.
afternoon nap and you're feeling like, yeah, maybe I could stand up without the assistance of a chair.
Then 20 minutes later, they cut to an intermission so you can have a crash nap very quickly, and then start the movie again.
Oh, what happened? I missed the bit in the middle. Start it again.
Rewind.
It would take hours to watch that if everyone was like, I'm just going to have a nap whenever I want and then tell you to rewind it so that I can watch it back again and watch what I missed.
Yeah. A 12-hour showing of a 2-hour film, yeah.
The 12-hour geriatric showing of Super Mario Brothers.
The Lord of the Rings would be a week-long event. Wow.
Oh, this is a brilliant and terrible idea.
Gosh. Anyway. So next topic. Let's talk about The Last of Us on PC. It has not been having the best time of it. It's still going through a lot of updates and patches. Those are rolling out. However, the show-stopping video that I saw just the other day was a first-person mod for the game, which looks absolutely brilliant, incredibly gory and sickening, but really impressive. And it reminded me a lot of the GTA 5 first-person mode, which was obviously an official mode when it came to Xbox One and the PC and PlayStation 4. And it feels a lot like that. Very much so, and it completely changes the feel of the game as I was watching that, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
So, as someone who doesn't really play a lot of first-person shooters, I play a couple of things, but generally speaking, it's not a style that I go for. I watched the video and was just like, this is amazing. Like, it feels you're so much more immersed in it because you basically are Joel and you
Yeah.
like are right in the face of these creatures. I did think though, like the video, whoever was playing in the video was obviously like they knew how to play the game. They knew the game very, very well. I wanted there to be a moment where they let some of the like either the actual infected come close to you so that you could like properly see the horrible detail,
Oh my
or
God.
or get a little bit of like splatter on the screen or something like that. That was like the only kind of thing I was like, oh, like imagine that. But I wonder if that was just because the person who was playing was just really good at the game, so they're just
Yeah.
popping shots like really easily at the monsters. But I did think it's interesting. Like I don't know if it would have been like a, you know what I need a first person shooter version of this. Like I didn't have that in the back of my brain at all. But I would consider giving this a go, even just so that because you can actually really appreciate the incredible detail in the game when you're literally in it like that. I think, yeah, interesting mod choice.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I had forgotten that part of it about the up closeness of the death scenes in The Last of Us are really graphic and violent and disturbing. So I didn't actually think, because I was watching this, and as you said, the person was obviously really, really good dispatching the clickers and the runners with almost ease,
Mm.
and obviously the other hunters as well. But the times when you're pinned down by a clicker and it like rips your head in two,
Hmm.
seeing that in first person would be like another level of terrifying and
Yeah.
quite disturbing. And we obviously didn't get to see that in this trailer mod because it is a work in progress. Maybe these haven't got to that yet, but
Mm.
that would change the dynamic of the game and change the experience of the game as well. And one of the things I like to do with Red Dead 2 and GTA 5 as well is replay them in first person, especially Red Dead, because I feel at the time, the third person mode in Red Dead can feel quite like you're moving around in treacle or something like that. It's very considered animation system, which is hugely impressive to look at. But when shit gets real in the old Wild West, and you gotta do a showdown and you gotta like move around really really fast and get into cover, it can feel really really slow and
Mm.
by extension almost like really clunky. But in first
Mm.
person mode, you can really get into these intense shootouts quickly because you're moving around much faster, you're strafing much faster, you can dodge much faster, you can shoot much faster because it goes into like a first person shooter mode. And that's one of my preferred ways to play that. Unless I'm doing hunting and just walking around the cities and things or the towns and things like that. It's like you wanted to get into the third person mode and it's like the best of both. And you can imagine if this was, or maybe it will eventually become like an official mod, like Naughty Dog do a first person mode for this. I don't think they ever will, but that would be incredible if they did.
Mhm.
They would have a lot more polish for the first person stuff that needs to be reworked for first person. Whereas this is just a mod from a like a community fan that can immensely talented person,
Mhm.
obviously, but you can see like the way that the way Joe is holding the guns and things like that. It's like, okay, there's no reticle on screen. It looks like he's pointing into the dark, but it's shooting somebody who's like off in the distance. Like there's clearly a bit of a disconnect with the animation with what's actually
Mhm.
happening on screen because it's just a mod that's being worked on still.
Mhm.
But that would, like, for me who knows The Last of Us really well, I always want to go back and play it for sure, even though it is in third person. But to experience it as a first person playthrough would be different enough again to say, you know what, that would give me a new experience of that game to then play through it a 12th time rather than just the 11 times that I've done.
I love that. I love that for games. Like seeing things from a new perspective is really cool. It gives a lease of life to a game that, you know, maybe you don't need an excuse to play it again, but it's a welcome excuse to play it again, to live in that story and to actually feel like even more a part of it. Like I think that's the main thing that I've like picked up even just from watching the little bit of that video of that mod. Like it just feels, yeah, your level of immersion is heightened because of the fact that like, yeah, you can literally just see your hands. You are Joel, more so than you feel when you're playing in third person.
Yeah. It's the disconnect of third person versus first person. It's like, oh my god, a clicker is actually attacking me rather than
Mhm.
attacking Joe. Is totally,
Yeah, yeah,
totally. I'd love to see Naughty Dog back this or do an official thing, and
yeah.
maybe they'll shut it down to say, you know what, we're working on our own for official first person mod. So sorry, here's the lawyers, a cease and desist. You got to pull it down.
Or that person's going to get hired to do
Hey,
to like further develop the mod specifically for them, because that'd be really cool. Um,
yeah,
or even they might just give them a large sum of money to stop doing the mod, but take all the work that they've done already and just embellish
maybe,
it a little bit more.
maybe, yeah, yeah, and maybe they'll wrap it up into the much talked about factions mode, which is apparently still coming. Their big multiplayer
Mm.
game, which is going to come. So maybe there'll be like a that'd be interesting actually. There's a third person mode, but there's also a first person mode for that game as well. Could be really
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
cool
yeah,
because that's
yeah.
competitive then, you know.
Yeah, I think that would really work. I think, the Naughty Dog team are not afraid of remastering, reworking, re-releasing, and like putting additional content in for the players. So yeah, it seems entirely possible, especially if this gets like lots of eyes on it and people are aware of the fact that this mod is even being like fan developed. That might make Naughty Dog go, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea." Yoink.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Give us a new way to play a game. Just don't sell it. Just do it as like a
Yeah,
free update.
yeah. Come on, come on. We've spent a lot of money on this franchise already. We love it. We love it. Don't get me wrong, but
Do the right thing, all right, dog. Do the right thing. Come on. Okay. Let's talk. Let's talk about. I know Jamie's not here for Halo, but we're going to talk about the Halo creative director Joseph Staten, former Bungie alumni, one of the original developers and writers of Halo back in the day, has joined Netflix. So not only has the man left Microsoft, that's one big old blow right there for the Microsoft teams, but he's gone over to Netflix, which is really at first I was thinking, wow, that's why did you do that? Why do you want to kill your career like that? But then I was reading a little bit more into it. And of course, this information is coming from Game Informer. Joseph Staten, known for his work on the Halo series, has been hired as a creative director on an unannounced Netflix games project. In this announcement, Staten confirms that the game is a brand new IP and referred to the project as a AAA multi-platform experience. So that's really interesting. So it's not, my first reaction was like Netflix games that you can play in your browser or in the app. Is like, wow, clearly the guy's a fucking moron for doing that. That's going to be the end of him. We're never going to hear from him ever again. But anyway, I digress. It's a multi-platform AAA project. So this is interesting and actually quite an exciting prospect as well, because if it is going to be playable on like PC, on console, and Netflix is wanting to get into the AAA gaming space. Not an easy thing to do at all. Amazon has been trying to do it for years now on several big, high-profile projects, and that MMO is probably their most successful, which I've forgotten the name of. What was it called? It's like, oh, that's gonna really annoy me. It's a big MMO that Amazon were behind, and now I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, this is interesting that Netflix obviously has the money to back this, and I'm really curious as to what the team is going to be working on that Joseph Staten is going to be building and putting together. What's your thoughts on Netflix getting into the big old AAA gaming space, whilst I try and find this Amazon MMO?
Yeah, you go ahead and do your little cheeky Google. I think it's isn't it a flex? It's such a massive flex to go, let's grab someone who is as iconic in terms of like the role that they've played for Microsoft and bring them over to Netflix, which means that we aren't here to play. We're going to we mean business. We're going to make sure that this is better than whatever Amazon are trying to do. I think it's a huge move, and I really hope that, like, I feel like someone like Joseph State will bring with him such a reputation that, of course, we're going to be here with bated breath to see what Netflix has in store for us. And I'm curious as to like what kind of style they're going to go for. Like, are they going to lean into how they did Bandersnatch, which was like an interactive Netflix thing, a choose your own adventure style thing. I wonder if they're going to stick with like FMV as like a format, go down the immortality line of something that has obviously Netflix, they produce massive like TV series and films and stuff. Whether they want to use that skill set they have and combine it with what they can get with Joseph State and build an IP that leans into FMV as a style, which would be incredible because I think it's such an underrated style of gaming. Or if they're just going to sack that in and go, let's make the biggest like new IP that we can throw all of our Netflix money into, that could even rival something as big as Halo. Like that, literally, it's super exciting for me anyway. I'm like, this is very cool. Show me what you're doing. Don't keep it a secret for too long. Give us some little tasters of something. Like, yeah, maybe let me audition for whatever it is. That'd be great too.
I hope so. That'd be amazing. Yeah, I hope it's not the FMV kind of thing. Personally, sorry, immortality, but fuck off. I don't care. I don't care about that shit. I really don't. I joke. I am joking. I love games like The Quarry and Detroit Become Human. I think those are essentially interactive movies without the FMV.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the game engine at that point, and which does make you kind of wonder. It's like, well, why isn't this just filmed? Right? Why are you scanning the faces? You're going for photorealism, but it's in a game engine as opposed to just FMV. And I loved FMV games. They were like the thing to have in the 90s, like Wing Commander and all of those styles of games. And Command and Conquer had FMV elements to it as well. And I'm thinking, man, that's when games like, wow, this looks so photorealistic. Yeah, because it's video. It's film.
It is.
That's why. Because it is. Because it is photorealistic. So I mean, that would be totally interesting, and maybe does make more sense for Netflix because they've had the Charlie Booker thing with Bandersnatch as well. So I'd be open to really interesting stories, like branching narrative stories like that for sure. But also at the same time, I want them to do a video game ass game. This big AAA, like Horizon or like a God of War or things like that. And they're obviously heavily into the game adaptations for TV and film at the moment with Pokemon. They're doing a Gears of War series, I think that's getting prepped and ready. There's going to be a Sonic Prime TV series as well. So they've obviously got a lot of irons in the fire within the gaming space, whether it is adaptations or where it's actual video games. They did a partnership with Ubisoft for a sequel to Valiant Hearts as well, which I'm just checking out as well. But they've never actually fully funded their own projects in terms of creating a team to create a new IP to go into the AAA gaming space. I mean, going in straight off the bat to the AAA space is incredibly expensive, incredibly difficult, and just getting names on paper to put an alpha team together doesn't rarely actually translate into a successful project. I mean, we've seen it in the past, and this is not a dig at Microsoft or an Xbox, but Xbox have built super teams in the past and the results have been problematic and not that great. So it's not like just getting all of the best talent, you're instantly going to get a God of War Ragnarok. It doesn't unfortunately work like that. So, but I am excited because I'm a huge fan of Joseph Staten. And he's actually also the author of one of my favorite Halo novels, which is called Contact Harvest, which is kind of like an origin story for Sergeant Johnson in the Haloverse, and it's fantastic. So the guy knows how to write really great stories and characters, and he's more than qualified to usher in a new IP as well. So I'm excited but apprehensive as well because I don't want it to be a Amy Hennig situation where she goes over to EA, she puts together this really exciting Star Wars project, Project Ragtag, and then we get a reveal and it looks like it's really promising and coming together, and then it gets just cancelled, crushed, and then somebody of that talent is now just floating around trying to get projects together and off the ground, and then before you know it, 10 years have passed and they haven't delivered anything because of the situation. So I really hope that isn't the case here.
Yeah.
and Netflix will, properly fund, properly support, and actually see this through and say, actually, no, we're going to pull the plug on this. And then all of that talent is then back into the unemployment pool, trying to find projects to work on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would like to think that Netflix are usually quite supportive of projects. I mean, even things that aren't necessarily, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they haven't necessarily pulled series without allowing them to have a sensible ending. Like I feel like that they're good. That I think they do have a focus on story. At least that's the vibe that I get anyway, which is good that they're aligning with Joseph, because if he's able to write something amazing, Netflix are happy to nurture something like a new IP and like really, really focus in on the story, which is, for me is always the thing that will, capture me and bring me into a game. If that's the focus, then this could be very exciting. But I could totally appreciate the apprehension, because, it'd be interesting to see how Joseph works with this new set of kingpins, essentially, because Netflix are not small fry by any means. So
Yeah. Cool. And before we move on to the next topic, New World was the game that Amazon created, the big MMO, New World, which was huge at the time. And I remember every streamer on the planet was streaming it and getting their partnerships to promote it and everything. And it did actually look really cool. It was like a kind of fantasy piratey MMO thing, which was really, really cool. And I think Amazon like sunk loads of money into it. I don't know what the state of the game is now, right enough. I think there was a lot of issues, as there are with any MMO project, but especially your first major one from a fairly new company. Like Amazon's not a new company, but in the gaming space, it certainly was. So I hope it's still going and being supported, because it did look pretty impressive. And had it ever come to console, I would have checked it out for sure. But Sarah, Knuckles is getting a live action TV series. It's officially underway and the cast has been revealed. So months before the premiere of the very successful Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Paramount announced plans to create a live action spin-off TV show starring Knuckles. After over a year of silence, we now know the project is officially underway, as well as the cast that will bring the series to life. Sonic the Hedgehog director Jeff Fowler also sits at the helm of the series, and he tweeted an image of Knuckles with a clapperboard and the customary cowboy hat from Knuckles, that production is basically underway, and it's confirmed that Idris Elba is returning to voice the character of Knuckles, as well as a pretty decent other additional cast of characters as well. So how cool is this? There's a Knuckles live action show happening.
It's mad, isn't it? What a time to be a gamer. Like, I know we've said this a lot, but like I feel like it also feels like being a gamer of our generation is like a huge thing, because they're doing all these amazing nostalgic, like, bring back these characters that you played when you were a kid. Let's turn it into a live action series. Let's turn it into a film. Let's do this. Let's do that. And like Sonic was like one of the biggest like franchises that I played growing up. Sega was like my first ever console. Sega Master System, then Mega Drive. But like, it's mad. I haven't even seen the films, the Sonic film. Like, I was kind of like, oh no, it's going to be terrible. In a way that I didn't feel. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Jesus Christ, Sarah.
But like, I was worried about that when I heard about it. Whereas I felt really excited about the Super Mario film. So, but I've heard that the Sonic film was great, so I do need to see it. And I heard that Idris Elba is incredible as Knuckles, which I'm like, what perfect casting! What an insanely perfect casting! To the point where I'm really excited for this live action series and the fact that they have Idris as Knuckles in it. So. Maybe look, I feel like this whole like episode has just been, Sarah, you haven't done this, you haven't watched this, you haven't played this. So my week ahead is going to be go see the Super Mario movie, go watch the Sonic movie, play Plague Tale, get that done. And also the other thing I have on my list is to finish Jedi Fallen Order. So I'm just going to sack in my job for the week, I think. Just be like, you know
Yeah.
what? I don't want to do anything. I call in sick every day so that I could just play games and watch movies.
If only we could, yeah. Sleep, eating, video games. And if we
Yep.
could get rid of sleep and eating, as we talked about last week, then that would be even better. Just video games all the time.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
our matrix. Yeah, we plug in and then that's it. We never leave our little cocoon pod of virtual space. That'd be great.
But I presume that means you've seen the Sonic film. So tell me about it.
multiple times, both movies. I've got nephews and Marcus he isn't quite ready for Sonic yet. But we tried him with Detective Pikachu and he lasted a little bit. But that's a little bit too dark and scary for him actually still. So he's still too young. But my nephews love Detective Pikachu and the Sonic movies, and even I love the Sonic movie as well because I didn't go to see it in the cinema. I rented it, and I wasn't expecting the best. I have to admit, I wasn't, because this is hot off the heels of the whole design of Sonic at the time and the backlash of that. And I know they changed it, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to rent it, and I'm hoping for the best, but I'm expecting like nothing too great here. And I ended up really enjoying it. There's a lot of clever nods, whilst also doing its own sort of story to make it work in a live action movie. And Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is just scene stealing. He's the Bowser, the Jack Black Bowser equivalent of this, just like chewing up the scenery, completely stealing the show. He's classic unhinged Jim Carrey, just cut loose, going nuts, pantomime villain and all, and it's fantastic.
Love that.
And Sonic and Knuckles is really good as well. And Knuckles is just great because Idris Elba is there's no like nuance of irony or humor kind of thing with his character. He doesn't, everything is literal for him in that sense. So he, like, all of the jokes are kind of like going over his head, and he's like, but very, very well played by Idris Elba, of course. And it's just great. It's just really great. It's more of that tone and style of the first movie, and I really, really enjoyed it. Just really solid adaptations. And I highly recommend them. And I'm interested about this for sure, because I'm trying to think of, have we had many live action like TV shows where there's been a CGI character that would have to feature heavily as the main character like every episode? You would think that would be cost prohibitive for that sort of production. I was trying to think. It's like, has there?
There's a TV show, I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called, but it's a cop, like a really gritty, like cop detective kind of character, and he hallucinates this animated character.
Right.
So it is like it's a live action TV series, but he has like an animated. I don't think sidekick is the right word. It's kind of like a psychosis level of like, I see this, it's here for me, but it's not here for anybody else. So I'm clearly like a little bit, mentally unwell for whatever reason. But he played, like, the actual detective character is quite serious, but this cartoon, this animated character is completely like off the walls, wacky, insane. And it's, that's going to really bug me that I can't remember what it's called. But that's the only thing I can think of that has that kind of double level of it, and it's a TV series, American TV series.
It was like a unicorn or something,
yes,
and the guy is just
like Patton Oswalt, I think, who voices the unicorn.
Oh, okay. And the guy's on drugs all the time, and it's like,
that's what it is.
Definitely so not for children.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. This is not to take your kids to, not to sit down in the middle of the day and watch with your 2.5-year-old. What's it called?
I remember seeing the trailer for that. I know, and I said to Jess, this looks amazing. Oh, is that what it is called?
Maybe something like that.
Right.
Happy or something. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And Jess said, we are definitely not watching that, she said. Because I think it was too drug fueled euphoria, and Yeah, the situations that this cop gets into because he is not a model police officer at all. But
No,
I
he's
thought
not.
it looked so ridiculously over the top and insane and psychedelic. I thought this has got to be just either brilliant or complete garbage. And I hold out faith that it is the former there for sure.
Yeah, it is called Happy.
Right.
I think it's because the character that he hallucinates is called Happy, I think.
Okay.
Or either way, I've actually not watched it. I know
Hmm.
of it because I remember seeing a trailer at one point and went, that looks great. That looks absolutely mad, but that looks great and I want to watch it, but I haven't got around to it yet. I
Yeah.
think it's Netflix, funnily enough.
I've got some homework to do then, and I'm gonna watch Happy
You've got
whilst
homework, but essentially we both have homework, but
we do. Still no ETA on when the Knuckles live action show is gonna hit. It's obviously gonna be on Paramount Plus. So I I just subscribed to this, Sarah. I for the longest time I held out saying I do not need another digital streaming platform. But you know what? 9 seasons of Paw Patrol are on Paramount Plus, and my son loves Paw Patrol, so we had to bite the bullet and get Paramount Plus. But in my defense, I get to watch the Halo show. Maybe that's not much of a defense actually, but I get all of Star Trek. I get all Star Trek in its
nice.
entirety. So I've got that, and I've got obviously this to look forward to when it eventually arrives.
Mm,
And they also dropped a little bit of news that the third Sonic film is expected to hit theaters December 20th next year, 2024. So got that to
cool.
look forward to as well. I wonder what direction they're going to take the third film. I think Shadow is in it, right? That was sorry, did I just spoil something?
Spoiler, how dare you?
Shit. Rewind and erase that from your memory. Damn it. Oh well. Whoops. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't know how much of a spoiler that actually is
It's
out
not.
of context.
It's not. It's not. It's not a spoiler at all. It's like nothing.
Okay,
I just made it
cool.
up. I was so convincing that I can lie so convincingly that I made you believe that was actually a spoiler, but it's not.
Ah, acting.
Exact acting, darling, acting. Yes, theater. Okay, last topic, and honestly, this makes me so freaking happy because Dead Island 2, for all of its troubles and woes, for all of the studios that had a hand in trying to get this project through to fruition, it is finally here. And I think the last developer that did the lion's share of it was, I think it was Dambuster Studios, but I'm not sure. It is actually Deep Silver Dambuster Studios, it says here on Metacritic. So it's currently sitting at a Metacritic of 74, and that makes me, for me, on this game, that is like a 90 for me. I'm so happy that it's in the 70s, and that is great. That is honestly really good. We've just dropped Sarah off there. Hopefully she can join back. There we go. Sarah, you were in such shock that you just disconnected from the show.
That Metacritic score is outrageous. Goodbye.
Yeah, your internet was in such shock that it just disconnected. Wow. So this Metacritic
So
score,
dramatic. Sorry.
I know. You always just like to make an entrance for the final topic. That's why you disconnect and
Absolutely.
come back in and swoosh your hair around. I'm here again, everybody.
I'm back. Please proceed.
I know, but this is like a huge win in my book. I've been looking at a lot of the reviews. I've been looking at like Digital Foundry's tech analysis of it, and it looks really great. It looks really great, and I'm so happy and surprised by it. And better than that, it has launched in such a great state that it is almost a perfect frame rate, regardless of what you're playing it on. And it's got great resolution, great frame rate, and it just is a solid game at launch. It's not going to redefine anything, but it's a zombie game and it's fun, and that's all it needs to be, and that's great. And I'm so happy for Dambuster Studios and for every studio, every developer that had a hand in at various points of the timeline since 2014, I think it got first announced, and now here we are, 9 years later, it's finally out, and it made me think, I actually now really want to play this, but
Yeah.
maybe not at launch for 60 quid. I'm sorry, but it looks great. And if you just want a rollicking good time that is a pastiche of, I guess, like American Hollywood culture and things like that, because it's set in LA, then it just looks like a silly turn your brain off, get the popcorn out, smash some zombies, and just laugh stupidly at it. And that is all it needed to be. And what a success story.
Yeah, I love it. I'm so here for this. This is great, isn't it? Like, t- it, it, so many games could have got to this point and just been like, you know what? Let's just call it a day. Let's just not. But the persistence with it is, I don't know, something to be admired, and the fact that they still put out something that people like are really really enjoying, and I think it hopefully makes maybe takes some of the pressure off like game devs who feel that they need to do these massive crunches and release something that's a little bit clunky and then we'll fix it afterwards. Like maybe not like 9 years worth of like let's relax, let's take the foot off the accelerator. Maybe not that, but like because I was just thinking 9 years, that's nearly as long as I've been in the UK, which is nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been in the UK longer than that, but not by much. So, yeah, it's great, and I really want to play it because I was comparing it in my head to Dying Light and Dying Light 2, which I think the reason I don't like those games as much is because they take themselves really seriously, but
Yeah.
the performance and the writing doesn't seem to marry into how serious it takes itself. Like it doesn't have the power behind it. The story isn't that gripping, considering how big of a deal it wants to be. Whereas this feels like it goes, let's just kill zombies and have a great time and make absurd weapons and just and make it beautiful and crazy and a little bit like you say pastiche. Like I love that. That sounds way more my vibe, which is
Yeah.
like what is really enticing me to it. But yeah, probably not for the cost it's currently at. But I'm definitely keen to try it because who doesn't want to like bash some zombies around?
Yeah. What was most impressive about it, I think, is the the they call it the flesh engine, and it's the dismemberment the dismemberment system. And I'm going to try and find it actually because I was watching Digital Foundry, um, who were doing the test, the tech analysis of it, and it feels like, hold on, I'm trying to type here. Sorry, everybody. It feels like they've created this acronym of a system called the Flesh Engine just so they could call it the Flesh Engine, and it was brilliant. I can't remember what the actual acronym is now. It's going to take me too long to find it, but it's basically called the Flesh Engine, and just so they can call it Flesh Engine. And it means that whenever you're striking or flaying the flesh of these zombies or breaking their skulls, it has a deformation like effect, an animation system effect that is so grotesque and over the top, and feels like, wow, that's like a really cool next generation only system for zombie smashing and zombie slaying. And I thought that's actually really freaking cool.
Yeah,
I just love that it's called the Flesh Engine.
that is
It's
absolutely
so
brilliant.
ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I love
It's
it.
perfect. It's
I
perfect.
know.
I think it's knowing that is like that is one of the key elements of playing zombie games, is knowing that you have that kind of like visceral effect on what you're attacking, and you can see it, you can see the impact of what you're
Yeah.
doing, like,
Yeah.
and seeing a zombie literally like be like torn in half by whatever weapon you've like cleaved through it. Like, yeah, I'm here for the
Yeah.
Flesh Engine. I'm here for
I've
them
found
making an excuse to call it that.
I've found the acronym, and because it's on the Digital Foundry. So the Flesh Engine means fully locational evisceration system for humanoids. It's
Yes.
so ridiculous. It's an acronym just so it could spell flesh, and I love it. I love that.
Mm, mm.
Bravo, bravo.
Love it. Love it. Yes, very good. Very good. Give us more.
I know. So the game is co-op. And it's also backward compatible co-op. It's not cross multiplayer, unfortunately. And at the moment, anyway, there's a weird thing that they're trying to solve, that if you are on like PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, at the moment anyway, you're unable to host a co-op session with like PS4 to PS5 or Xbox One to Series console. It has to be whoever's on the PS5 would host, so somebody on PS4 can join.
Okay.
I think they're working around that at the moment. So
Weird.
Just bear that in mind. If you're still on last generation consoles, but you want to co-op with your buddies who have already made the transition to the more powerful consoles, then you wouldn't be able to host them. They would have to host you, and there's a little bit of a thing right now. But overall, I think the technical stability of the game is actually so solid and actually really impressive. And it's a sad thing to say, but extremely rare in today's gaming launches that this actually is such a bit of a performance unicorn. And there you go.
Only took him 9 years to do it.
Wow. Sarah coming out with the clangers here. Jesus.
I'm so sorry. I don't really mean it. I think people would have been a bit unforgiving if it had been even a little bit like unstable. I think people would have just come for it with barbarous smite.
I think so. And that statement just cost you a role in Dead Island 3, so I hope it was worth it.
Oh no! I take it back. Oh no. I make really good zombie noises, I promise.
My big kind of question for developers is, are you going to do a Dead Island Goat Simulator crossover? Because I think this could work. This could really work. In this tongue-in-cheek setting of LA, there's just a zombie goat rampaging around. Come on, folks, DLC, make it happen.
Come on, it's there, it's right there for the taking. You know you want to do it.
I'm gonna try and check this out as much as possible. So that's a wrap on this week's show, folks. And next week I'm probably going to be talking a little bit about Street Fighter 6, because that demo just dropped, but haven't had a chance to check it out. And maybe some initial impressions, depending on when we get to record, actually. If we record later in the week, we might have initial impressions of Jedi Survivor, because it would launch just a smidgen before we record. But it depends on when we can actually record next week. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But if not, we'll be back at our normal time with our normal banters and tangents. And hopefully we'll have the trifecta of us all back as well. And Jamie will be joining us. But fingers crossed for that. So guys, take care. Thank you for your support and for tuning in and listening to our shenanigans, our rambling tangents. It's been an absolute blast again, Sarah, to shoot the shit with you and talk video games. Thank you so much for being amazing.
My pleasure.
But that's it, guys. Take care. Happy gaming, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.